to attack that day. I how you, Buck? And he didn't look right, you know. He's not the same old Buck. You'd almost think he's going to die that day.
As the attack moves forward, Bill is separated from his unit. Alone and under enemy fire, he crawls around frantically looking for either his platoon or Canadian lines. This is when he stumbles upon Buck.
And almost to a road, I found Buck Hawkins. He was mortally wounded. I never seen a man die, and I didn't know. I was looking to see where he was hit. I opened all his clothing up, trying to find bullet holes, and then I realized the direction he was going, the fire was coming from his right. And I looked on the right side, I had his clothes pretty well off. I could see 3 blue spots, all in a group. That MG-42 German machine gun fires so fast, you get hit with more than one bullet when you get hit. 3 bullets had passed right through his lower torso, and I just sheared off his arteries and everything. And he said, "Who's that?" I said, "Boots." "Oh, good." He said, "Lift my head up." He was just comforted by knowing somebody was near him. And so I think I put my jacket over Buck. And he died right there.
It will take Bill 12 more hours before he finds his way back to Canadian lines. He soon discovers the attack on Giberville is a success for the Queen's Own Rifles. But celebrating after the loss of his friend will prove difficult, even now.
He died in my arms this time. Left a wife and a little girl at home. 15 years older than the regular guys. Everybody loved him. He wouldn't take any promotion. He said, I don't want to have to send people into battle. Fine man. We just miss him so much.
Verrières Ridge. The name still sends chills down the spines of Canadian veterans who remember fighting on its gentle yet deadly slopes. By late July, Verrières is nearly as formidable an obstacle as Vimy Ridge had been a generation earlier, a death trap for any Allied soldier trying to breach its open slopes. On July 25th, Operation Spring commences, one of the most complex operations undertaken by Canadian forces during the Second World War. 6 objectives are to be secured. Roland Giroux of the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry recalls the approach to Verrières Village.
We waited till about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we went around on the right-hand side and decided to go down to Verrières, across the open fields, grain fields.
In the early morning darkness, their attack moves in. 2 lines of RHLI soldiers. As a runner for the company commander, 20-year-old Roland Giroux is situated between the 2 lines, alongside a radio operator. The Germans let them approach.
The first line got to these huge pillboxes, and they opened up.
In Roland's sector, intense German fire slaughters the Rileys. The radio op gets hit. and then the company commander. Within seconds, Roland finds himself alone and surprisingly unhurt.
All those guys were all over the place. They were wounded, a lot of them dead.
With the horror of battle surrounding him, Roland's first instinct is not self-preservation, but to help his wounded comrades.
The first one that came along was by this Indian by the name of Smoke. This guy was on his back, and it was quite dark. I couldn't see it very well, so I could feel all those bones in his, he had large, it was fairly heavy set. And then I took his shell and I tied it up as tight as I could. So I got up and I started to patch up some of the other guys. So the second one was a sergeant. The third one was by the name of Armstrong. He was rolling around in the grain field, and his guts were about 8 or 10 feet long. So I stuffed him back in and I patched it up. And I looked after this Bourne also, which was quite a few, but so many were dead, unbelievable. All the officers are dead, all of them.
As dawn breaks, the Rileys push forward up the ridge, where the Germans have abandoned their gun positions. It is here where Roland meets up with the remaining men in his company.
After we got to the top of Verrières Ridge, near those stone wall, we counted them. There was 33 left out of 100. That's it. We could not find an officer. All we had was these lance corporals and privates.
The RHLI is the only regiment to reach its objective, as massacre and near mutiny engulf the other Canadian battalions. In order to hold Verrières Village, Allied command sends in tanks and Typhoons to support the beleaguered Rileys.
Typhoons were sent. They fired right behind us, right by Verrières, and they went right over our heads. And several times they fired. Boy, did they ever give those good scare for the Germans.
The Rileys' fight for Verrières Village is the only positive outcome of Operation Spring. For over a week, they hold off relentless German counterattacks until one final and devastating Canadian blow can be struck. A monument now stands in Verrières Village that honors the brave men like Roland Giroux and the rest of the Rileys for their heroic stance on Verrières Ridge. On the night of August 8th, the final act in the Normandy saga begins. Operation Total Eye signals the beginning of the end for the German armies in Normandy, as Allied forces head down the road to Falaise. Of the many stories of heroism and sacrifice on the bloody Falaise road, the tragic tale of Worthington Force takes center stage. Named after its commander, the mixed battle group consists of tanks from the British Columbia Regiment and infantry from the Algonquin Regiment of Ontario. For many, it is their first and last battle in Normandy. Their objective is an area of high ground deep in German territory, known as Hill 195, just miles from Falaise. Jack Patterson of the Algonquins recalls the events of that day.
Once I got up on